Hello there, welcome back to Build the Boys. You now have issue 10 of Hachette's Build the Dalek to finish out the month. So in this one, we are installing some components for the eye stalk. A spring, some washers, and a cover. There is a lot more to go to that one. So in issue 11, as you can see, you'll be getting the motor. And I'm going to go into a bit more of what's coming up over the next 10 issues at the end of this one, because I know what's coming right the way up to issue 20. So we'll go through exactly what's coming, because I know, like me, but what's next? But we'll go into all of that. We're going to be installing the parts for the eye stalk and also the final panel for the top of the dome. So we'll have all of our paneling on the dome. It's going to look quite lovely when this is done. We're also going to carry on our talk about what happened to Terra Hawks. How long did it last? Why did it go away? But without further ado, let's get this one open. Let's get this one built. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps the channel massively, and we really do appreciate your support. But let's get this one open. Let's see what we get. Let's get it built. Okay, so let's have a look what we get inside number 10. Quite a bit in here. Right, so we've got BM screws. We've got AP screws. Don't know what this is. Let's find out. Here's the spring. I think it is. So it's a spring, and those are bearings. Put those over there. It's this piece here. This feels like the cover. Yeah. So that's the cover for the mechanism. And that should be the panel. Anything else in there? Nope. Okay, so this is the final panel. It's going to go on the top of the dome. There we are. And that will complete our paneling for the top dome. So that's what we've got. So what we're going to do first is we're going to bring up the dome. We're going to flip it over. And we're going to install these pieces into the eye stalk. So let's bring that up. So here we are, here's what it looked like. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of there, move it forwards for the sake of what we're about to do. Now you want this part here facing down, which is actually facing up if you think about it, but that's where that's going to go. So you've got this section facing upwards, that section facing downwards. And quite simply, we're going to take our two bearings, and we're going to fit them this side of this cog here. So that one's going to go there. And that one's going to slot on there. So we've got one on each side. What do we need to do then? So let's, we don't screw those in or anything like that. Those just sit there. Okay. Right, to fit the spring onto 10C. So I see where we're going. Right. So we're going to take our spring. We're going to lift. We're going to pop the spring onto there like so. And then we're going to put this back into the slot. So we're going to sit our, okay. So moving all of this over, we're going to put those bearings in there. The spring's going to sit in there. And this should push down. There we go. So we push down like so. And then quite simply, we're going to put our cover over the top of this. So our cover's going to sit over like that. Nice and simple. And then we're going to hold this in place with the AP screws. So we've got those AP screws ready. And then we'll screw this in place. That's been nice and simple. I mean, I can see how the mechanism's going to work. The spring's going to stop this from flopping around all over the place, which is good. Okay, and we're going to hold this in place with 4 of the AP screws. So let's get these ready. Let's put the first one in. There we go, there's one. Second one in there. There's 2. third one in this side here. Three, and then one more. So our third one's just going to go in this side here. Oop. Do this slightly blind. There we go. That's that one in. It's not tight. That looks loose to me. Is that just my eyes? It's just my eyes. Okay, so that's that one in. So now we've got the spring in place. And that is all we've got to do to install that piece. We are now going to move on to our final dome panel. So, having installed our spring mechanism, we now have a returning stalk, which is good. So this will move with the motor soon enough. But right now we haven't got a floppy eye stalk anymore. We've got an eye stalk that remains central. Beautiful stuff. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the panel, and we're going to attach that to the top of the dome. Okay, so using our 3-in-1 oil, we've got our screw ready here. Touch into the 3-in-1, and we'll pop the first one in. It's one, nice and simple. I'll put the adjacent one in, and then, as I said, as always, I'm going to get these in first, then I will tighten them up. But don't over tighten. This one's to pull together, which it is. It's always nice when that happens. And then a third screw, and we're pretty much done. There we are. So I'm going to tighten those three, we'll flip it over and we'll take a look. And there it is. We have, I love Feather Banks's now, we have our complete dome. How cool is that? This looks awesome. This looks so good. So there we are. That it's kind of complete. So let's not get excited. The outer panelling's complete. We have a lot to do on the inside of this dome, which I'll go into in a minute, about exactly what we're going to be doing. But let's have a chat. So that's that one done, nice and simple, but it's made an impact. It's made a huge impact. So you can see exactly how our Dalek dome is now looking. It's looking amazing. It's looking so good. This thing's going to be so big. I can't wait. But I am absolutely loving this. I'm really happy with it. It looks gorgeous. It looks so gorgeous already. So, if you're like me, which I'm sure you are my people, we are one and the same. You want to know what comes next, right? Well, so do I. Well, I can tell you. So, next month in issues 11 to 14. So, issue 11 is the first motor for the eye stalk. Now, you're going to get it. You're going to test that it works, but you're not going to test that it works on the actual eye stalk. If you start doing that, you're going to cause problems for yourself and you're going to bugger it up. So it tells you not to test it. Don't test it on the eye stalk because you're going to chew years. You have a problem. You don't want that. So don't do that. So that's what's happening there. And then in issue 12, you'll get the PCB. So you're going to get basically the motherboard for the head for the electrics. We're going to screw that into the dome. All of the wires we've got so far. So that's the two wires for the energy diffusers and the wire for the stalk itself, the light inside the stalk, and also the wire for the motor for the stalk will all plug into that. In issue 13, you're going to get a secondary motor, which you're not going to use yet, but you've got to build the motor. And that is going to power the actual turning of the dome. And then in issue 14, you're going to get a large metal disc that sits on the bottom of the dome. which ultimately is going to create the turn-in. So that's what you get the next 4. So next month, it won't be huge pieces with the exception of the disc is big, but all the other pieces are quite small because there's little motors and things like that. So there's a lot of electrics to do in next month, but don't panic about that. It's all plug and play. You haven't got a wire or anything. It's plugging it in. It's nice and simple. We'll go through it. So that's what you get next month. So that's April. In May, in issues 15 to 18, we won't be doing any work on the dome as such. What we're going to be working on is the ring that goes underneath the dome. And we're going to be working on that for, this is where it gets weird, issues 16 and 17. Yeah. Issues 15 and 16 and 17. Yeah, 15, 16, 17, we work on the dome ring. So we get the gears, the cogs and whatnot that make the ring that go underneath. That will then attach the dome. And the dome is then pretty much done at that point. So at issue 18, the dome is pretty much complete. All the electrics you can do inside the dome are done. And you've screwed on the actual mechanism that's going to turn it. So it's got gears that will turn it, and you will be able to rotate the dome. So I believe it's in issue 18. You're going to do the... No, it's not. It's in issue 17. You're going to test the dome. So you're about to rest on something. You're about to press the button, and the dome is going to rotate. Now, it will only rotate one way when you're testing it. When the model's complete, it'll rotate both ways. But for the test purposes, it's only going to rotate one way. But you will get to see a dome rotate. So that'll be good. Then we move on to something completely different. This is so weird. So I thought we were going to go from the dome, we were going to start going down, and we kind of are. But what we're building next, so after issue 17, we start building the control center of the Dalek mutant. So where you see that thing open up on the chest, you can see the mutant inside. Well, there's a little control deck there. It's not just a mutant. That mutant's got controls to control the actual Dalek itself. So it's got a little screen, it's got little gears and steering, and that's what we're going to build. So we're going to start building that center console that's going to sit inside of the Dalek. And this is what I was quite surprised at. So in issue 19, that will be coming in May, June, you get the mutant. So we're going to get the mutant in issue 19. You get the mutant. So that big mutant you get. And it's not just a case of you've got it, that's it. You do fit it. So the mutant does fit. But we're not going to secure it in place because we're going to carry on building the console around it. So the console's kind of a contained box that the mutant's going to sit inside of. But we're going to get the mutant in issue 19. We're going to test fit it. Make sure that it's working, that it fits properly. We take it off and then we carry on building the console where it's going to sit. And we're still going to be doing that up to issue 22. So I know what we're getting for the next 12 issues, the next 3 months. I know exactly what we're doing. So next month is electrics. Half of the month, so half of May is finishing the dome. And the other half is starting the mutant console. All of May and June are the mutant and the mutant console. So it's good. We're moving on to something else. It does mean you're going to start amassing bits. So this is what's going to happen. You've got your Dalek dome, that's sorted, but now we are moving on to that. So once that mutant bit's done, that's going to be a long time, I would imagine, before that goes into anything. I'd like to think we're building a frame at some point for all of this and then putting the panels on. I don't know. But we'll have to see, won't we? But that's what's coming. So now you know exactly what's coming over the next 3 months. So you've got something to look forward to. But you're getting that mutant, you're getting that really early. I thought it was going to be like the last thing you get. Typically, like issue 140, here's the mutant, you put it in. But no, we get that really early doors. So we're getting that in like issue 19. So yeah, you will be getting your mutant in June. Fun stuff, right? That's all for the build instructions. If you are just sticking around with the build instructions, with all the information of what's coming up, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe, helps channel massively. If you're sticking around for our sci-fi talks, we've been talking about Terra Hawks, and I've been a little bit rough on Terra Hawks, but it is what it is. So what became of Terra Hawks? Well, not a lot. It only ran for 3 seasons. Now, series, if you like, if you're English. And the reason why it only ran for 3 was because of just how much money it cost. It was a really, really expensive show. So it cost $5 million to make the first 2 series. And they were filmed pretty much back to back. So before Terra Hawks had actually sort of gone out into the world, they were already filming Series 2. So that budget, the original 5 million budget was there. When it didn't do as well as they wanted it to do, it didn't do bad, but it did not do what they thought it was going to do. The budget was stripped down significantly for Series 3, and Series 3's budget was stripped down to 1.8 million, which is a huge drop from 5. Now, when you think about it, it wasn't that massive because they now already have the sets, they have the puppets, they have the bulk of stuff they need, so they don't have to build all of that stuff. So you would expect a reduction in budget, but it just wasn't doing the business they wanted it to do. The ratings were fine, but the problem was there were other shows at the time that were costing a lot less money that were getting much higher ratings. For example, the much bigger show than this that came out around about almost parallel the same time was the show Superground. Now, whether you like it or hate it, Superground was costing about a tenth of what an episode of Terra Hawks was costing to make, but it was getting 10 times the viewing figures. So when you look at it like that, you think, well, why are we spending all this money on this when this is costing us nowhere near, and it's getting a lot more viewing figures, and it's selling globally? That was the other problem with Terra Hawks. It wasn't selling globally very well. The first series did, so everyone sort of snapped that up. And then when no one was watching it, no one was really interested in buying Series 2 or Series 3. It had a following in Japan, and it was shown across Europe and America as well. But again, it was something and nothing. It wasn't event television. It wasn't a big deal. And it wasn't Thunderbirds, which is what they thought it was going to be. It was going to have the success of Thunderbirds, and it just didn't. There are many factors involved in that. Changes in tastes. Terra Hawks itself was a bit weird. It was a bit scary for kids, but a bit too silly for adults. So finding its niche wasn't the easiest thing. But Terra Hawks ended like a lot of sadly a lot of sci-fi shows end unsatisfactorily. It didn't end with here's the final episode. It just kind of ended. So it sort of petered out and became nothing. So what was the future of it? Well, nothing. Over the years, there's been loads of sort of rumour of revival and things like that, and it's never really come to fruition. And I mean, even up to as late as 2019, there was talk of a revamp of Terra Hawks. But I mean, we're 2025, and there's been no more news about that, which that means it's dead. Who knows? Will it come back at some point? Possibly. I mean, it might come back as a live action thing. It might be a film. It might come back as a cartoon or a CG animated thing. Who knows? It might do. But it's one of those things. Rather than it being something that is remembered fondly, I think it's something that's just remembered. And there are people out there that are going to say, I loved it. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. But if you go back and watch it, you might feel very differently about it. It's just not, it wasn't good enough is the problem. It's not that it wasn't good. It wasn't good enough, I think, is the best way to describe it. Again, I'm very conscious of every sci-fi property, no matter what it is or how you feel about it, has always got a devoted fan base. So there are people out there that absolutely love this, live and breathe it and adore it. But at the time, it had too much competition, and the competition was of a high caliber at the time. You think about it, this would have been competing against Transformers, Masters of the Universe, all of those American shows like Knight Rider, Street Wolf, I mean, even The Equalizer, A-Team, Miami Vice. This was going up against all of those as kind of trying to fight for your entertainment. It just didn't do it. They just didn't, which is sad, but it's what it is. I mean, it's puppets at the end of the day, which I think is always going to be a problem. Puppets have certainly had their day. I mean, even now, when you look at attempts at shows using puppets, have done okay, but not great. I mean, if you look at the revamp of The Dark Crystal, Netflix pulled the plug on a second series because just how much it cost to make, and it didn't get the viewing figures. Was it bad? No, but it cost too much to just be okay. That's the problem. And other attempts at puppet movies haven't gone well. I think the Day of the Puppet is pretty much done, isn't it? I think when you've got CGI now and you can make any creation far more effectively than you can with a puppet, that's what's going to happen. I love physical effects, always will, and I'd prefer to see a very expensive, very well puppeteered Yoda than a CG Yoda. But at the same time, you couldn't have done that fight scene in Attack of the Clones with a puppet, not effectively. And that's where you are. You are restricted on what you can and can't do with puppets. You can do amazing things with them, but you are still restricted. And I think that's the problem. If you're going to make an action show, puppets probably aren't the way to go. And I think Terra Hawks was the last of those. And it's what it is. I mean, it'll always be remembered, and you'll always have people that remember it fondly. But I'm not expecting to see it back anytime soon. There were other sci-fi shows around at the time, which brings me beautifully on to what we're talking about next month. The next month, again, is an oddity. It's one of these things that was around at the same time as Terra Hawks, believe it or not, but it was bloody weird. Now, it is sci-fi. I'm going to have people tell me it isn't. It is, right? The basic premise of this is, but this is something that no one ever talks about, and I think we need to, because it's such a weird footnote in the history of British sci-fi and 80s television that we need to talk about it. And what's this? Now, if you're old enough to know who that is, your knees and back probably hurt all the time, right? If you don't know who that is, we'll have to tune in next month to find out exactly who that is, what that was, where it came from, and the weird story behind it. But that's all from me. Thanks for stopping by. We are done for this month with the Dalek. We'll be back with more, though. We've got a lot coming up on the channel. So please tune in for that. If you'd like to contact us, you can contact us at buildingtheboys@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. Anything you want. If you need help, we'll help you. If you want to tell us how you're doing with your build, tell us. If you tell us what your plans are. If you decide, you know what, I don't want that panel, I'm going to strip it out and make it look different. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to see it. So let us know. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. The other ones, I've had people ask me what I'm going to name my Dalek. No idea. If you've got a suggestion of what you would, you know what? Let's do that then. If you want to name my Dalek, you send me a name, right? I'll pick the best one. Whatever the best name is wins, and I'll send you a Building the Boys keyring. Can't say fairer than that. You get to name my Dalek and you get a keyring. And they're in demand because I'm down to I feel like 3 keyrings left. So yeah, if the best name, best suggestion for a name, I'll name it, and you'll win a keyring. Can't say fairer than that. That's all from me. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. Take care, and I will see you very, very, very soon for more from Building the Boys. Take care. Bye-bye.